Hi everybody, I'm Jack. This is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. It's just a nice, quiet, kind of overcast Saturday here in South Alabama, and I'm just going to enjoy a nice, lazy day here in the house. I'm actually going to get stuff done, but there'll probably be some laying down and naps involved in the day. Now, probably during this video, there's going to be some noise at some point. They do a lot of yard work in this area, and you know what? I'm in a different place now. I'm just not going to let it stress me out. I'm not going to wait for the perfect time when there's not going to be a sound. Yeah, just learning more and more and more as I go to let things go. Was a little bit frustrated yesterday with this whole trying to, I'm so close with these designs. I've got a couple of like little design things that I need like about just a minute amount of graphic design work, really just somebody that can handle Illustrator a little bit. And I noticed myself starting to get frustrated towards the end of the day, so it was just time to walk away, meditate. Everything was okay again. So anyhow, this is just going to be one of our little weekend talks. I'm going to do a little reading and a little talking about a connected to the source, connected to everything. What's that about? I do videos every day, so if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button now and click on the little bell and check send notifications so you will stay subscribed to the channel. Part of this is going to be from a little bit of a reading from one of my books, magazines that I've read from before. Not as much as The Lion's Roar, but it's called Light of Consciousness. I may have done last week's reading from this from a totally different subject, totally different person, but anyhow, this is kind of the forever wisdom. The name of the article is The Forever Wisdom of Dr. Wayne Dyer. I wasn't real familiar with him, all that much. I mean, I knew who he was, but until he was dead, I recently, maybe about a year or so ago, started looking at some of his talks and stuff on YouTube. And really good stuff, and I resonate because he's got a book out there, Living the Wisdom of the Tao, and it's just a reading of the Tao Te Ching, which I've been interested in, been reading for at least 25 years, probably closer to 30. And then he has like these affirmations that he wrote, kind of interpretations, affirmations of each one. So I liked the particular slant of this article when I was reading it, and I just thought it would be something I would like to share. And like I say, when I talk about connected to source, connected to everything, don't get all flustered about that. Whatever your interpretation, whether it's God, the universe, the source, the power, energy, the Tao, whatever, just we're all connected to something. See yourself connected to source. I'd like to see you changing this thought from seeing yourself as separate to seeing yourself as connected to everyone and everything in the universe. Actually, let me start in the beginning because there's a little prequel to that. And as long as you believe that you are separate, you will not understand the power that you get when you reconnect to your source. Okay, and then he goes on down. He starts the article. I'd like to see you change the thought from seeing yourself as separate to seeing yourself as connected to everyone and everything in the universe. Our ego tells us that we are separate, that who we are is this body, and everybody out there is separate from me. Nothing has been more profound and more powerful and important for me than a verse from the Tao Te Ching. This idea that we are all one, that all of us emanated from the same source. And by doing so, we need to see ourselves as connected to every single being, every single person, every single flower, every single tree, every single animal. If you can see yourself in everyone, we're all connected. One of my favorite quotes is from the Native Americans. No tree has branches so foolish as to fight among themselves. We're all branches on a tree called humanity. When you read the Tao, when you read this idea about changing your thoughts and changing your life, you're going to see endless verses that speak to the absurdity of the idea of you having an enemy. The idea that you and anyone else on this planet is an enemy. In the Tao it says, I, an enemy, cannot exist in the same sentence. It says that even those who go to war, the ones who will triumph are those who go to war without an enemy. And they will treat every victory in war not as something to celebrate, but as a funeral, as an indication that we haven't reached the highest place within ourselves, to see that even those people that we judge to be our enemy are really connected to us. The Tao says that a bad man is a good man's job, and a good man is a bad man's teacher. I like that one. You are one with the ocean of abundance. I think of my source as the ocean and myself as a glass. If I were to take this glass and would dip it in the ocean of abundance, what do I have here? What I have is a glass of my source. Now it's not as big and it's not as strong, but it is still a glass of my source to which I am always connected. If I were to take one drop of this source and put it over here and say to this drop of water, I would like you to create and sustain life. I would like you to perform miracles. I would like you to end all of my problems. Watch that drop of water separate from the source and you will see that it's going to change form from liquid into gas and eventually return to its source. There is no place else that it can go. There's only one source. But while this drop of water is separate from its source, it loses all of the power of its source. This drop of water, separate from its source, is a metaphor for your ego. The part of you that believes you have separated from this divinity into that which you were created. And as long as you believe that you are separate, you will not understand the power that you get when you reconnect to your source. By becoming quiet, you are becoming someone who is making conscious contact with your source. That one really resonates. When you become quiet, you're becoming someone who is making conscious contact with your source. I have another one that I might do as a separate talk at another time, and it's kind of on the idea of all the answers are in the quiet, all the answers are in the silence. What I'm finding out through my meditation, the quieter my mind gets, the longer I meditate and the more I settle in. The quieter my mind, the more still that my mind can become. That's when I feel I'm connected. That's when I'm feeling like I'm getting understood. That's when we get these answers. That's when that's when we find out things, or so in my opinion. There's a lot of good stuff here, but I'm going to skip down to what he called, I need to look, this is from Dr. Wayne Dyer, but somebody else obviously wrote the article because he passed. Or no, actually it is an excerpt from the Forever Wisdom of Dr. Wayne Dyer. Okay, here's a good one. It's called the Dyer Dozen. I would encourage you to keep track of these 12 ideas, which I call the Dyer Dozen, for connecting to intention. And intention leads us to connecting to everything, and connecting to everything connects us to source. The first one, want more for others than you want for yourself. Whatever it is that you perceive to be missing, whatever health problems you may have, whatever addictions you're struggling with, whatever lack of love that you have in your life, whatever lack of peace that you have with your aunts and your uncles or your parents or your in-laws, want the peace you seek for them instead. That is how we create this level of consciousness. Think from the end. Number 2, begin to see yourself surrounded by the people and events and things you would like to have. You're having a problem with an addiction. See yourself as addiction-free. Intention is an awareness that I am thinking from the end, because everything you think is missing from your life is already here. 3, be an appreciator. Look for that which is valuable rather than worthless. When you go out and buy a house, 10 years later we say it appreciates in value. Same thing with you. If you are an appreciator, you have more value. And what could be more valuable than being connected to source? 4, stay in rapport with source energy. Your job here is to be in a state of harmony with source. Constantly remind yourself, is this how my source thinks? Next, resistance. Understand this about resistance. Every thought you have that is other than which you emanated from is resistance. Every unkind thought, every uncreative thought, every thought of judgment, every thought of fear, every thought of depression, every thought of it can't happen, it's all resistance. All resistance. Even if you think all this is a bunch of nonsense, you're absolutely right, because that's what you believe, and universal source will help you to fulfill that belief. Next, I kind of lost count. I'm not sure if this is 6. Contemplate yourself surrounded by the conditions you want to produce, because this way you are one with source. You are always one with source. You are one with all of its principles. It can't be anything other than it is. Neither can you. 7. Understand the art of allowing. Allowing means taking the path of least resistance. Every time you have a thought that has resistance in it, you have created an absence of allowing. You have to think like, here I am, here I am, here, and here's source. How much energy can I pull from it? Are you pulling energy from source, or are you away from it? Allow it. Allow yourself. 8. Practice radical humility. You are not this body that you are in. You are not the mind that you are in. You are not any of the possessions that you have. You are a divine source. 9. Be in constant state of gratitude. This one is so important for me, and I try to practice it every morning. Be grateful for everything that shows up. Everything. Stay in a state of being generous and grateful in your life. Because what could be more generous than that which has allowed you to come from the infinite source to this material world and back? You can never resolve a problem by condemning it. That's number 10. Any problem that you have, when you use shame, you are using the lowest energy that's out there in the universe. You cannot shame your way into higher consciousness, into source energy. 11. Play the match game. Always ask yourself, am I matched up with the field of intention? And number 12, meditate. Perfect finish. Meditation is essential because it is your way of staying connected to source. What is the only thing in the universe that can't be divided? You cannot divide God, source, energy, matter. Well, you can divide matter. Everything else has an up, down, north, south, east, west, male, female, right, wrong, black, white, or alive, dead. Everything comes in dichotomy except silence. If you cut silence in half, what do you get? More silence. Cut it in half again, more silence. Cut source in half, just more source. You can't divide it. Meditate on it. Anyhow, this is just a little bit of wisdom I wanted to share about our connection. And it's not, like I say, not just the connection to source, but our connection to each other, connection to everything. You know, it kind of fits in with this, you know, this whole vegan thing brings it home. When you start feeling the connection to the animals and you start kind of cleaning out a little bit, you start feeling this connection to more things, to the green around you, to the flowers, to everything else. But we're all connected. We're all connected, and I totally believe that one. That last one, meditate, I'm really into that mindset lately, that the quieter, the stiller the mind can become, the more we can express all of this, the more we can connect. Anyhow, just one of my little rambling weekend videos. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. And I'll see you tomorrow, and I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Love all you guys. Peace.